Dana Plato. You won't believe what happened next. A TV sweetheart who once lit up living rooms ended up alone in a motorhome, her life reduced to headlines, rumors, and a heartbreakingly small bank balance. This is the story of a child star's rise, the choices that snagged her, and the relentless fallout that followed. Dana Plato. She was born in 1964, and by the time she could remember her own name, adults were already planning her future on camera. Adopted as a baby, Dana was pushed into auditions, commercials, and the bright but unforgiving world of show business. Cute faces got camera time, and Dana's did, a lot. By her early teens, she'd appeared in feature films and dozens of ads, and then she landed the role that would define her, the older sister on a smash-hit sitcom about two boys who find family where they least expected it. Overnight, she became one of television's familiar faces. But fame for a kid looks different behind closed doors. Production sets are adult worlds, and a child's scaffolding of safety can wobble fast. On-screen warmth didn't shield Dana from real-life pressure. She started leaning on alcohol and drugs to manage expectation and exhaustion. The coping mechanisms that seemed to help at first slowly tightened their grip. Sometimes she showed up to work, barely sober enough to go on. That's the slow burn of a child star's undoing talent and vulnerability wrenched together in the public eye. Lanny Lambert Young Love came next. While still in her teens, she moved in with and later married guitarist Lanny Lambert. A pregnancy followed, and the showrunners decided a teen mother didn't fit the family-friendly image. Dana left the sitcom, and with that professional safety net came a cascade of invisible consequences. Fewer checks, fewer job offers, and the sudden need to navigate grown-up problems without a grown-up's toolkit. After her marriage dissolved, and as grief arrived in the form of family losses, she made decisions that would haunt her finances and trust. In a moment of extreme vulnerability, she signed over control to someone she thought could handle the money, an accountant who then vanished with most of her savings. The funds that should have buffered her downturn were gone, leaving her with a fraction of what she once had and a frightening new reality. Fame doesn't equal security. Wayne Newton. There were public breaks that made the tabloids howl. In one desperate episode, Dana walked into a Las Vegas video store and pointed a pellet gun at the clerk, demanding the till. She later returned the tiny take, about $100 because she'd left behind something as ordinary as her glasses. It read like a tragic sketch, the poster child for a celebrity meltdown. When police took her into custody, it was a surprising benefactor who posted bail, a well-known entertainer who stepped in and paid. It was the kind of headline that mixed pity and spectacle. A fallen star, a generous stranger, the city watching. Robert Menchaca. Through the later years, Dana tried everything to reinvent herself. She made a play for a tougher image magazine, spreads, risque indie films, even appearing in controversial projects meant to shake off the child star label. When opportunity thinned, she took odd jobs, worked at a dry cleaner, and kept trying to find a foothold. She also had people around her who took on roles that blurred lines, managers, partners, and companions who would be called on to steer things. One such man was Robert Menchaca, who was part of her life in her final months. They lived in a motorhome, moving between places, trying to get by. A few months before the end, she went on a notorious radio interview with a shock jock, thinking she could clear the air and prove she'd rebuilt herself. Instead, the conversation turned ugly. Listeners jeered, callers accused, and Dana, already fragile, offered a dramatic gesture. She allowed the host to cut a hair sample on air to prove her sobriety. She later asked for the hair back. The humiliation was raw. The next day, while traveling with Menchaca to visit his family, She took some prescription medications, pills for pain and muscle relaxants laid down in the motorhome, and never woke up. At first, officials called it accidental. Later, after toxicology and context, the death was ruled a suicide. Tyler Lambert. The story doesn't stop with her. Her only child, Tyler, grew up under the shadow of a famous mother and the complicated legacy she left. He carried the weight of that history for years, struggling with addiction and the emotional fallout of his family's tragedies. In 2010, on the anniversary of his mother's death, he took his own life. 2 generations marked by the same heartbreaking pattern, the spotlight's bright promise, and the darkness it sometimes reveals. So, how did a promising young actress spiral so completely? It wasn't one choice or one catastrophe. It was a stacking. Early exposure to adult pressures, substances used as fixes, relationships that both supported and strained her, financial betrayals, and an industry that often celebrates a child one year and packages them out the next. The pieces piled up until the life she'd built around performing no longer fit. Fame didn't insulate her from grief, poor advice, or predatory people. It amplified them. There are moments that sting when you read this and wonder what could have been different. Better support systems for young actors, more responsible guardianship, the stronger safety nets to catch those who fall from public favor. There's also the simple human truth that addiction and despair don't discriminate. They snag ordinary people and celebrities alike. If this story feels heavy, it's because it is, but it's also a caution. Behind every glossy memory of a beloved TV face is a person who needed help at times when their support felt out of reach. Dana's life reminds us that applause isn't a substitute for care, and that sometimes the most vulnerable in our culture are the ones we cheer the loudest. If this tale moved you, give this video a thumbs up. Share it with someone who might appreciate the reminder that fame and pain can live side by side, and subscribe to keep hearing stories that look beyond the headlines, honest, raw, and human. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.